God bless you guys. Today, I'm not going to be doing a teaching or a preaching, but I'm just simply going to be reading the Bible. And I want you guys collectively with me to read the Bible. So if you have your Bibles with you, you can open it up and go to Genesis chapter 11. Genesis chapter 11, verse 1. Let's get nourished spiritually. The Tower of Babel. The Tower of Babylon. At first, the people of the whole world had only one language and used the same words. As they wandered about in the east, they came to a plain in Babylonia and settled there. They said to one another, "Come on, let's make bricks and bake them hard." So they had bricks to build with and tar to hold them together. They said, "Now let's build a city with a tower that reaches the sky, so that we can make a name for ourselves and not be scattered all over the earth." Then the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which those men had built, and he said, "Now then, these are all one people, and they speak one language. This is just the beginning of what they are going to do. Soon they will be able to do anything they want. Let us go down and mix up their language, so that they will not understand one another." So the Lord scattered them all over the earth, and they stopped building the city. The city was called Babylon, because there the Lord mixed up the language of all the people. And from there he scattered them all over the earth. The descendants of Shem. These are the descendants of Shem. 2 years after the flood, when Shem was 100 years old, he had a son, Arpachshad. Tough name to pronounce. After that, he lived another 500 years and had other children. When Arpachshad was 35 years old, he had a son, Shelah. After that, he lived another 403 years and had other children. When Shelah was 30 years old, he had a son, Eber. After that, he lived another 403 years and had other children. When Eber was 34 years old, he had a son, Peleg. After that, he lived another 430 years and had other children. When Peleg was 30 years old, he had a son, Reu. After that, he lived another 209 years and had other children. When Reu was 32 years old, he had a son, Serug. After that, he lived another 207 years and had other children. He kept having children. When Serug was 30 years old, he had a son, Nahor. After that, he lived another 200 years and had other children. Dear Lord. When Nahor was 29 years old, he had a son, Terah. After that, he lived another 119 years and had other children. After Terah was 70 years old, he became the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran. The descendants of Terah. These are the descendants of Terah, who was the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Haran was the father of Lot, and Haran died in his native city, in Babylonia. While his father was still living, Abram married Sarai, and Nahor married Milcah, the daughter of Haran, who was also the father of Iscah. Sarai was not able to have children. Terah took his son Abram, his grandson Lot, who was the son of Haran, and his daughter-in-law Sarai, Abram's wife, and with them he left the city of in Babylonia to go to the land of Canaan. They went as far as Haran and settled there. Terah died there at age 205. God's call to Abram. The Lord said to Abram, leave your country, your relatives, and your father's home, and go to the land that I am going to show you. I will give you many descendants, and they will become a great nation. I will bless you, make your name famous, so that you will be a blessing. Ah, come on. I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse those who curse you. And through you I will bless all the nations. When Abraham was 75 years old, he started out from Haran, as the Lord had told him to do. And Lot went with him. Abraham took his wife Sarai, his nephew Lot, and all the wealth and all the slaves they had acquired in Haran. And they started out for the land of Canaan. When they arrived in Canaan, Abraham traveled through the land until he came to the sacred tree of Moreh, the holy place of Shechem. At that time, the Canaanites were still living in the land. The Lord appeared to Abraham and said to him, "This is the country that I am going to give to your descendants." Then Abraham built an altar there to the Lord who had appeared to him. After that, he moved on south to the hill country east of the city of Bethel, and set up his camp between Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. There also he built an altar and worshipped the Lord. Then he moved on from place to place, going toward the southern part of Canaan. Abraham in Egypt. But there was a famine in Canaan, and it was so bad that Abraham went further south to Egypt to live there for a long while. When he was about to cross, oh my God. The border into Egypt, he said to his wife Sarah, "You are a beautiful woman. When the Egyptians see you, they will assume that you are my wife. And so they will kill me and let you live. Tell them that you are my sister. Then because of you, they will let me live and treat me well." When he crossed the border into Egypt, the Egyptians did see that his wife was beautiful. Some of the court officials saw her and told the king how beautiful she was. So she was taken to his palace. Because of her, the king treated Abraham well and gave him flocks of sheep and goats, cattle, donkeys, slaves, and camels. But because the king had taken Sarai, the Lord sent terrible diseases on him and on the people of his palace. Then the king sent for Abraham and asked him, "What have you done to me? Why didn't you tell me that she was your wife? Why did you say that she was your sister? And let me take her as my wife. Here is your wife. Take her and get out." The king gave orders to his men, so they took Abraham and put him out of the country together with his wife and everything he owned. Now Abraham and Lot separate. Abraham went north out of Egypt to the southern part of Canaan with his wife and everything he owned. And Lot went with him. Abraham was a very rich man with sheep, goats, and cattle, as well as silver and gold. Then he left there and moved from place to place, going towards Bethel. He reached the place between Bethel and Ai, where he had camped before, and had built an altar. There he worshipped the Lord. Lot also had sheep, goats, and cattle, as well as his own family and servants. And so there was not enough pasture land for the two of them to stay together, because they had too many animals. So quarrels broke out between the man who took care of Abraham's animals and those who took care of Lot's animals. At that time, the Canaanites and the Perizzites were still living on the land. Then Abraham said to Lot, we are relatives, and your men and my men shouldn't be quarreling, so let's separate. Choose any part of the land you want. You go one way and I'll go the other. Lot looked around and saw that the whole Jordan Valley, all the way to the Zoar, had plenty of water, like the garden of the Lord, or like the land of Egypt. This was before the Lord had destroyed the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. So Lot chose the whole Jordan Valley for himself and moved away towards the east. This is how the two men parted. Abraham stayed in the land of Canaan, and Lot settled among the cities in the valley and camped near Sodom. Those people were wicked and sinned against the Lord. Abraham moves to Hebron. After Lot had left, the Lord said to Abraham, from where you are, look carefully in all directions. I'm going to give you and your descendants all the land that you see, and it will be yours forever. I'm going to give you so many descendants that no one will be able to count them all. It would be as easy to count all the specks of dust on earth. Now go and look over the whole land, because I'm going to give it all to you. So Abraham moved his camp and settled near the sacred trees of Mamre at Hebron, and there he built an altar to the Lord. Now Abraham rescues Lot. 4 kings, Amraphel of Babylonia, Arioch, Chedorlaomer, Tidal, went to war against 5 other kings: Beer of Sodom, Birsha, Shinnah, Admah, Shemember, Zeboim, and the king of Bela, or Zoar. These 5 kings had formed an alliance and joined forces in the valley of Siddim, which is now the Dead Sea. They had been under the control of Chedorlaomer for 12 years, but in the 13th year they rebelled against him. In the 14th year, Chedorlaomer and his allies came with their armies and defeated the Rephaim in Ashtaroth, Kirnaim, the Zuzim in Ham, the Imim in the plain of Kiriathaim, and the Horites in the mountains of Edom, pursuing them as far as Elparan on the edge of the desert. Then they turned around and came back to Kadesh, then known as Imishpat. They conquered all the land of the Amalekites and defeated the Amorites who lived in Hazazon Tamar. Then the kings of Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, Zeboim, and Bela drew up their armies for battle in the valley of Siddim and fought against the kings of Elam, Goim, Babylonia, and Elasar, 5 kings against 4. The valley was full of tar pits, and when the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah tried to run away from the battle, they fell into the pits. But the other 3 kings escaped to the mountains. The 4 kings took everything in Sodom and Gomorrah, including the food, and went away. Lot, Abraham's nephew, was living in Sodom, so they took him and all his possessions. But a man escaped and reported all this to Abraham, the Hebrew, who was, look at this, the Hebrew, because he was the Hebrew. A lot of people don't believe that. Who was living near the sacred trees belonging to Mamre the Amorite. Mamre and his brothers Eshcol and Aner were Abraham's allies. When Abraham heard that his nephew had been captured, he called together all the fighting men in his camp, 318 in all, and pursued the 4 kings all the way to Dan. There he divided his men into groups, attacked the enemy by night, and defeated them. He chased them as far as Hobah, north of Damascus, and recovered the lots that had been taken. He also brought back his nephew Lot and his possessions, together with the woman and the other prisoners. Melchizedek blesses Abraham. When Abraham came back from his victory over Chedorlaomer and the other kings, the king of Sodom went out to meet him in the valley of Shaveh, also called the King's Valley. And Melchizedek, who was king of Salem and also a priest of the Most High God, brought bread and wine to Abraham, blessed him, and said, "May the Most High, who made heaven and earth, bless Abraham. May the Most High, who gave you victory of your enemies, be praised." And Abraham gave Melchizedek 1/10 of all the lot he had recovered. The king of Sodom said to Abraham, "Keep the lot, but give me back all my people." Abraham answered, "I solemnly swear before the Lord, the Most High, maker of heaven and earth, that I will not keep anything of yours, not even a thread or a sandal strap. Then you can never say, 'I am the one who made Abraham rich.'" Wow. "I will take nothing for myself. I will accept only what my men have used, but let my allies Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre take their share." Now, God's covenant with Abraham. After this, Abraham had a vision and heard the Lord say to him, "Do not be afraid, Abraham. I will shield you from danger and give you a great reward." But Abraham answered, "Sovereign Lord, what good will your reward do me, since I have no children? My only heir is Eleazar of Damascus. You have given me no children, and one of my slaves will inherit my property." Then he heard the Lord speaking to him again, "This slave Eleazar will not inherit your property. Your own son will be your heir." The Lord took him outside and said, "Look at the sky and try to count the stars. You will have as many descendants as that." Wow. Abraham put his trust in the Lord, and because of this, the Lord was pleased with him and accepted him. Then the Lord said to him, "I am the Lord who led you out of Ur in Babylonia to give you this land as your own." But Abraham asked, "Sovereign Lord, how can I know that it will be mine?" And this promise was not just for Abraham, it was for his descendants as well, right? He answered, "Bring me this," as we just got done reading, Genesis 12. But Abraham asked, "Sovereign Lord, how can I know that it will be mine?" He answered, "Well, bring me a cow, a goat, and a ram, each of them 3 years old, and a dove and a pigeon." Abraham brought the animals to God, cut them in half, placed the halves opposite each other in 2 rows. But he did not cut up the birds. Vultures came down on the bodies, but Abraham drove them off. When the sun was going down, Abraham fell into a deep sleep, and fear and terror came over him. The Lord said to him, "Your descendants will be strangers in a foreign land. They will be slaves there and will be treated cruelly for 400 years. That happened in Exodus. "But I will punish the nation that enslaves them. And when they leave that foreign land, they will take great wealth with them." Glory to God. And that's what happened. You yourself will live to a ripe old age, die in peace, and be buried. It will be 4 generations before your descendants come back here, because I will not drive out the Amorites until they become so wicked that they must be punished. When the sun had set and it was dark, a smoking firepot and a flaming torch suddenly appeared and passed between the pieces of the animals. Then and there the Lord made a covenant with Abraham and said, I promise to give your descendants all this land. Look at this. Your descendants, all this land from the border of Egypt to the river Euphrates, including the lands of the Canaanites, Kenizzites, the Kedmonites, Hittites, Perizzites, the Rephaim, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Gershites, and Jebusites. All right, we'll stop there. God bless. Stay tuned. More videos will come out.